Hey everyone, it's John. Welcome back to the channel. Good as always to have you along. I just watched in the same week for the very first time Arnold Schwarzenegger's 1987 classic Predator. And to follow it up, I just watched 1987's classic The Running Man. And I know what you're thinking, first time watching both of these, I get it.
You used to be somebody I could trust.
And if you saw my review of The Predator, I watched that to ask the question if you even need to see that before you see the new Predator Badlands. And same thing for this. Do you need to see 1987's Running Man to understand 2025's Running Man? We're about to find out.
It's showtime.
In the year 2017, an innocent man accused of a crime has a choice: hard time or prime time.
Sensational. Perfect contestant. I want him.
He must pay or play the running man.
On your mark.
I'll be back.
Go!
Arnold Schwarzenegger is the running man.
Okay, so before we get too far into it and run ahead of ourselves,
Well, you must be very proud of yourself.
what is this movie about? Well, it's based off of Stephen King's book. Takes place in a dystopian future that at the time probably seemed a lot further than it is now, but it takes place between 2017 and 2019. In this dystopian future, the government controls everything, including food, resources, supplies, and of course, media and entertainment. And the #1 show is The Running Man. That is very similar in nature to The Hunger Games, a game show in which prisoners must run to freedom to avoid brutal death. Having been made a scapegoat by the government, the imprisoned Ben Richards, played by Arnold Schwarzenegger, has the opportunity to make it back to the outside again by being a contestant on the deadly game show. But unfortunately for Ben, the twisted host, played by Richard Dawson, has no intentions of letting him escape. As Ben makes his way through the games, he starts to unravel the truth of what's going on, and gathers with a group of revolutionists to help him make his way through the game, but also to show the world the truth. If you saw my review on The Predator, it's very similar in the sense that, like, I have no idea how this movie escaped me. But going back and looking at Arnold's filmography, I think when I first jumped in was 1990's Total Recall. That was definitely my first encounter with this era, I would say, of Arnold Schwarzenegger. For not having seen 1987's Predator and now watching The Running Man, I am like in love with this era of Arnold Schwarzenegger and wondering how I even missed it. But as mentioned in the Predator review, one thing that I love and appreciate about that movie was all of the one-liners that Arnold Schwarzenegger has.
Give me a break and shut up.
Some iconic one-liners that I had no idea came from Predator. Well, if that was part 1, Running Man is definitely part 2. There were so many times where I was like, I know that quote.
One of us is in deep trouble.
Thing I love about both of these movies is that they toe the line of being both action movies, taking themselves seriously, but kind of not taking themselves too seriously.
But I hope you leave enough room for my fist, because I'm going to ram it into your stomach and break your goddamn spine!
You are immersed in the action, in the sci-fi, and then you get an Arnold line that boom, like this.
Give you a lift?
And kind of stops you dead in your tracks. But if I'm being honest, I was laughing. I think it helps the flow really well. That's also something that I really liked about both of those movies, is the pacing is really nice. I don't know, I just think that in 1980s, 1990s action films, they wanted to get you in and out in under 2 hours, and I think it's great. It makes for a great ride, and that's another way of describing this movie. It feels like a ride. And once again, I think movies like this in this particular era kind of had a charm to them. And with both Predator and this movie, you can tell why Arnold Schwarzenegger is a star. I can't even believe that both of these movies came out in 1987. I mean, the first one, Predator, came out in June, and then The Running Man came out in November. So, I mean, this was a really stacked year for him.
This is getting better by the minute.
And one thing I really appreciate about this film, and one thing that Roger Ebert always had pointed out, was that an action movie is only as good as its villain. And really, really great work here from Richard Dawson. If you know Richard Dawson, if you've seen any of the old Family Feuds, you would know he kind of just naturally plays like kind of a creepy game show host, cheesiness that's almost menacing, and that's on Family Feud. So it's really great part for him. He kind of channeled that energy and brought it here. He is so sinister and just so conniving and creepy and like,
On your marks. Get set.
Killian, I'll be back.
Only in a rerun.
And it almost asks the question, like, what if a sleazy game show host was given unlimited access, creating a game that the impetus was brutal death?
You bastard! Drop dead!
I don't do requests.
But what's good about this character, he's a great adversary to Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's not this brooding villain, and hey, Arnold Schwarzenegger does fight plenty of brooding villains in this.
Well, that hit the spot.
Once again, we get another team up from him and Jesse the Body Ventura that is chef's kiss for sure. But Coleman Domingo plays the Richard Dawson part in the new Running Man. I don't know, I could see this totally working for Christoph Waltz as well.
The state places a bounty on a man's head. I track that man. I find that man. I kill that man.
He kind of has like this charm to him. You know, you'd want to be on his good side, but also know that, this is not the best guy to be aligned with. And one thing that was surprising about this film, considering the kind of film that it actually is, it explores subject matter in the film such as totalitarianism, media manipulation, violent entertainment in society, and it critiques the government control through propaganda, shows how society is obsessed with violent reality shows and distracted from the real problems of the economic collapse and oppression. There is some subject matter here that, you know, if one could draw lines or whatever, I'm just going off of 1987 and how they approach it. The movie does try to explore deeper themes, but you know, that's obviously counteracted with just like the obscurity and the over-the-topness of it. That is also one thing that helps move things along here. There is a theme that shows that the government in this world can take away and also give as it wants, and we see that early on in the film with Arnold Schwarzenegger's character, Ben Richards. He's a man of stature in the military. You know, he's a guy who knows right from wrong, and when he sees injustice taking place, he decides to do something about it, and he's actually punished for that. And then everything is taken away from him. And it's just really unexpected for a film like this. And Arnold Schwarzenegger is at full Arnold Schwarzenegger mode here. I mean, like, if it was a scale from 1 to 10, he's at like a 15 in this movie. He is so overdoing it, but I love it.
Here is Sub-Zero. Now, Plane Zero.
Just like cheeseball, giving you everything you would want. Now we know that's what we would have wanted from an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. It's kind of like the one-liners, the broodingness, the charm, the charisma, the over-the-topness. And that's the thing. The movie is so over-the-top, like comically over-the-top. Like just some kind of cartoon kills here. I mean, there's a moment in this movie where he chainsaws a guy from the crotch up in half and then has a great one-liner to that as well.
What happened to Baza?
He had to split.
And can we talk about the Stalkers really quick? That's what they're called in the movie, the Stalkers. These are the bad guys that Arnold Schwarzenegger kind of has to fight his way through. And I am convinced that after watching this movie, that these guys were basically how we ended up getting American Gladiators. You can see where a lot of influences took place in cultural society to help build the characters in this movie. Like I said, I think a big influence for sure was wrestling at the time. I mean, 1980s, 1990s wrestling was huge. And like, if you were a fan of that and came into this, you would have everything you wanted, especially because of the names. Jim Brown plays Fireball, Edward Van Lith plays Dynamo, Jesse Ventura is Captain Freedom, Gus Reswich is Buzzsaw, and my favorite, Professor Tora Tanaka as Sub-Zero. And that's the thing, that's kind of the pattern in this movie. It's like a video game, to be honest, going through the bosses, and each boss is more difficult, but also more out of control crazy. And with each final kill, he gives his line.
How about the light?
It's just a sign of the times, and I would say honestly, like a movie like The Running Man and Predator, we kind of need more movies like this. Movie that tells you up front, we're not trying to win awards here, we're not trying to do anything revolutionary, but we're gonna have you sit in your seat, take you for a ride, you're gonna see some crazy stuff.
Stick around.
But you're gonna leave home both laughing and feeling excited. And that's what this movie kind of did for me. Now, in the pantheon of Arnold Schwarzenegger films, I wouldn't say it's like, oh, it's the best one ever. But if you are an Arnold Schwarzenegger completist, you have to see The Running Man and you have to see The Predator. But where does The Running Man rank on my personal scale? Well, I'll be honest, I did like The Predator a lot more, so not to compare Arnold films, I don't know, I would say like between a 6 and a 6.5, maybe like a 6.2, 6.3. But the bigger question is, do you need to see 1987's Running Man to even appreciate or know what's going on in 2025's The Running Man? Not really. You know, I think before with Predator, sure, going into Predator Badlands, there's just like a lot of lore and things that you would need to know about, and I think it fits within the same chronicle timeline. This new one is more of like a retelling and is probably more indicative to the writing that Stephen King had intended in the original book, especially because that dystopian future in the book took place in 2025. I know, kind of creepy, right? And so does the new movie with Glen Powell. However, this one takes place in 2017 to 2019. It's kind of like in Back to the Future when they envisioned the future to be, 2015. It's kind of funny in that regard to think about. But if you want a more accurate depiction of the writing of Stephen King that's featured in the book, then 2025 Running Man is going to give you a lot more of that. It's going to be more indicative of the book itself. However, this kind of just more so takes the idea from that book and is like, I kind of like what he has here. I like what he has here. We throw a little bit of Arnold Schwarzenegger. We throw over the top Richard Dawson. We just make this a crazy, ludicrous kind of action, bizarre, cyberpunk movie and see what we get. And that is 1987's The Running Man. So I don't know. I would say if you're an Arnold completist, yes, watch it. But seriously, I think if you were to watch this and you watch the new 2025's The Running Man, I think there is a lot to take away from it and a few subtle nods as well. So, but it is worth your time to check it out. I think in these times too, where I feel like, I don't know if we're getting that many great action movies, there's not a better time to go back and revisit some of these old ones. And what a year to be alive, where we have 2 Stephen King books that are reimagined for the big screen, one in The Walk, and then now 2025's The Running Man. But not only that, we have 2 Arnold Schwarzenegger classics that we got to revisit with Predator and The Running Man. So a lot of parallels in 2025, a lot of anniversaries. I don't know. It's been a really great year for those kind of things, and I hope 2026 we also get to do that as well. But with that being said, have you seen The Running Man? And what do you think is better, 1987's The Running Man or 2025's The Running Man? Or, you know what? What's the best Arnold 80s action flick? Let me know in the comments below. Please like and subscribe. And like always, I will see you guys at the movies.
But I hope you leave enough room for my fist because I'm going to ram it into your stomach and break your goddamn spine! Ah! How about the light?